All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We're going to go ahead and get started with this budget workshop. I want to welcome everybody here to the budget workshop. And we do have a city commission meeting to follow, but we'll open up with the roll call here.
Keith Love, District 2.
Dedrick Johnson, Mayor.
Abel Garza, Commissioner at Large.
Jamie Clark, District 4.
All right.
And Thelma just called me, said she's on her way here. She said, I'll be late, but I'm hurrying.
All right, no problem. So the quorum is established, although there's no action taken in this workshop. It's for presentation purposes only, but thank you for that bit of information. So at this time, we're going to have the discussion on the 2025-2026 fiscal year budget, and that will be done by our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Cynthia Rushing. Ms. Rushing, before you begin, I'll say it now and I'll say it at the end. I want to thank you so much for the hard work that you've put into getting this budget together. I know it has not been an easy task, especially with a department that has had some transitions inside, and then working with the various departments in the city. But I know you've put a lot of sweat equity into this, and I appreciate all of the department heads and the supervisors who have worked with our finance staff in order to make this presentation possible.
Thank you, Mayor. It has been my pleasure to work on this budget. I eat budget for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I also am very proud of my colleagues that were very positive and responsive to participating in the budget changes. So we've made some changes, and we'll talk about that. I want to start off with, again, thanking my colleagues and everyone that was participating on the budget, and then and for you being here. So I would like for it to be interactive. If you have any questions, by all means, ask those questions. This is for you to understand what we've been working on, and just make sure that you are supportive and that you understand where the numbers are coming from. I will give you a heads up that we won't be going into line items, so we won't have a lot of information for you to dig into, but all the subject matter experts are here that can provide any information that's needed. Okay, so again, we're going to start off with the budget framework, and we go to the next slide. So what we've, I don't know, do I slide?
I'm not sure if yours is plugged in, but if you need me to go to the next slide, I can.
Yeah. Okay, so we've actually made a shift. Our budgeting process here at the City of Texas City has been more of on the traditional side, where it was incremental budgeting. And incremental budgeting means that you increase your budget every year or you decrease your budget. So whatever you received the previous year, that's your budget, so that's your base. And then you make an adjustment to say, hey, we have inflation. We know that this is going to cost more, so we need 5% more. Or we know that some things have structurally changed and we may need to decrease. And so that is a traditional budget, looking at more of your inputs and processes, but basically it's just a budget that you roll over year by year. There's another type of budget called zero-based budgeting, where you start at zero and say, what is it that I really need to be able to operate my operations? And what we've selected going forward is the outcome-based budgeting. And this budgeting approach is aligned with your goals. So you start off with your goals, and then from what your goals are, then you ask yourself the question, what resources do I need to accomplish these goals? And so it is a way to get you more in line with what you're trying to accomplish, and then measuring those accomplishments to say, did I reach these goals? What was the outcome? And then that's a better way for us to be able to communicate to the residents as to what we have accomplished year over year with the tax dollars that we've used to for the operations. Next slide. So again, outcome-based budgeting, it increases the transparency and accountability. It makes it easier for people to understand where the funds have come from and what the intended goals and outcomes are. It's transparency in the sense that you identify what your metrics are, what your KPIs, your key performance indicators are. And so and this is not an easy task. It's not easy to go from traditional incremental budgeting to outcome-based budgeting. So it's going to take time. It's going to take at least 2 to 3 years before we are actually in the rhythm of outcome-based budgeting. So we're doing a phased-in approach. So for this fiscal year, it was understanding the concept, establish our departmental goals that are aligned with the city's goals, Community Matters 2030, but there are also some other initiatives that fall under the Community Matters 2030. And so it is aligning, establishing those departmental goals to align with the existing strategy that we have for the city. And then once we align the departmental goals to the city's goals, then we're going to align that budget to the goals. And so I asked that the staff to submit their budget based on quantitative needs. And what I mean by quantitative, it is saying, okay, how many potholes do I have the capacity to be able to fill? And so if the capacity is, I'm just throwing out a number, 100 potholes we can fill. So I have the capacity to fill 100. How much material do I need to fill 100 potholes? And so we calculate the budget based on that. You start off with what your goals are, and you say, okay, I have the capacity to fill 100 potholes. How many have I filled in the past? So we provided 3 years of historical actuals to the staff, so they knew how much they had been spending over the last 3 years. And so in this example of the potholes, they said, last year in 2024, we actually filled 85, but we have the capacity to fill 100. So our goal is to fill 100 potholes, and now how much is it going to take? What resources do I need? And the resources, of course, equals dollars, but it also may equal or consist of human capital. I may need more people. So then that's where you'll see an ask for new positions. It may be that we need to partner with another provider of sort. So then it's like, I need this. So you add that as a resource. It may also mean that we need more training. So then you add that and say, hey, I need the competency to be able to accomplish this. So that's what the quantitative budget submission is. And then finally, you want to be able to determine whether or not you met those goals. So you want to be able to monitor and track your performance. And so I asked the team to come up with 2 to 3 key performance indicators. And what are the drivers? What is going to be that activity that tells you that you accomplished the goal? So in the example of the potholes, it could be that did my calls go down? Because people are going to call, residents are going to call and let you know there's a pothole here, there, and everywhere. And so keeping track of our calls on potholes, we'll see, hey, our calls went down. And so we have something that's tangible, along with the fact that we can count, so we know that we filled the 100 potholes. But there's also some other things that will happen there too that you can measure. So I asked the team to provide 2 to 3 key performance indicators. Next. So traditional budgeting versus outcome-based budgeting, again, it focuses on your inputs and outputs. Your outcome-based budgeting is going to focus on your results. Here's that dollar that represents where's your money going. So within this dollar, based on last year's budget, 24% went to police, 18% went to fire, infrastructure was 24%. Parks 13%, government 20%. But the most important thing about this is that now with outcome-based budgeting, we can now be able to say, hey, the number of miles of streets we've paved, 90% of the residents' complaints were addressed within a number of days. We'll be able to add these things at the end of a fiscal year to be able to communicate. And it's not just at the end of the fiscal year, to be throughout the fiscal year, because we'll be tracking this. So based on the KPIs that the departments have given, that they are going to track, this is just an example, but, you know, the first responder time to 911 call, what is that? Is it under 5 minutes? And last year it was 7 minutes, and we've improved on our time by 2 minutes. These are the things that we want to be able to speak to our residents, as well as our community around us. So taxpayers want to know, what did they get for their dollar? This is a cute picture of a dollar bill split up, but what did they really get? Next. So I've been saying to the team, hey, we have one city, one budget. And this is really to start to foster a collaborative environment. It's one team, it's one budget, we're one city. And so to remove some of the silos of, hey, this is my budget, don't take away any of my money, this is my budget, and really is to say that this is one budget. And with that, we'll have transparency. The transparency to demonstrate to our to our residents within City of Texas City our results. What are we doing? How did we build up this budget? The resources, being able to maximize the resources among departments as well as funds. And so this is an opportunity for us to centralize some things. So we have, we've implemented centralizing facility management. We do have a facility management team. However, the facility management team didn't have a budget. So within each one of the department's budget was facility-related expenses. And this is an opportunity to have some synergies, have it centralized, and have a true owner of those key functions. The same with IT. So with IT, which is now Innovations and Technology, all software will appear out of that budget. And so we'll have the IT team really managing our software to ensure that we don't have duplication, to ensure that we have the standardization and that we have resources to be able to support those platforms that we've brought into the city. And then finally, service. You know, the quality of service that we're offering, and then our several service levels, and then to be able to have that courageous conversation around the service levels. So now the numbers. I've done a lot of talking. Here are the numbers. The team has been working diligently and getting the numbers, and these numbers are still moving. This is a fluid process, but this is where we are right now with a proposed budget for FY26 of $81 million compared to FY25's budget of $78.5. Operational budget does include a COLA for the capital equipment and vehicles of $2.4 million. We will need a transfer from the fund balance to account for or to fund the capital request. But this capital request compared to last year is actually down by about $500,000, so 2.4 compared to 2.9. Here are the new positions that were asked. Let me take a step back. When the team submitted their budget request for FY26, that budget came in about $15 million above last year. And so there was a lot of enthusiasm around, hey, we need more resources to be able to achieve our goals, and that was one of the tasks. But the task wasn't very clear in terms of we have to stay within these parameters. And so now we have these asks of saying we need these additional resources in order for us to be able to achieve our goals. And so we are considering these positions. A decision hasn't been made. However, it will add to that operating budget of $2 million if we approve all of the positions that are requested here today. Any questions before we move on to the next slide?
Before you move on, it's not a question, but I do want to note that police has trimmed their requests down to about 7 and not the 14 that's mentioned here. And those, I believe, mostly civilian positions. But as stated, none of these have been, added yet, but just wanted to let us know that these are not police officers per se. Is that correct, Chief? That's correct. Okay.
And I will add that the goal is to keep the budget at 81 million. And so it means that if these positions are added, which I know that there will be several of them that will be added, then we're going to have to go back into the line items and reduce to accommodate for the new positions. So it's a trade-off. So it may be that we have, fewer pens and pencils in our office supply number to account for the additional staff that's needed. And so on the next slide, we're providing you with the request for the equipment and vehicle replacement. And this is by department. I apologize for, there's an item that's highlighted. There's no reason for that to be highlighted, so disregard the highlight. But this is the request that we have thus far. And again, this is, bless you. This is a fluid number, so it is at 2.4 million. We anticipate that there may be some movement after some additional conversation in terms of what is really needed, and if we can work some of these off to get the 2.4 million down, and we may have an addition that we missed that may have to add to the number. So it's still fluid, but this is the general gist of where we're going in terms of the ask for capital equipment and vehicles. And again, this is all for the general fund. This is not for any of the other funds. Enterprise funds is a self fund where it is operated as a business, and so we'll talk about what their requests are when we get to the enterprise fund. But this is just for general fund. Any questions? Okay, we'll just whiz on through. This is wonderful. So we have over 3,500 special funds, and I didn't want to bore you with all 35 of these special funds, but if you have any questions about any of the funds that's not listed or that I didn't just touch upon, just let me know, and I can get you the information. On the HOT fund, which is the Hotel Occupancy Tax Fund, the budget for this fund is the original budget was $780,000, and we have $780,000 in revenue. And so what we're proposing, as we're taking the phased-in approach, is that for our special funds, we're going to use the rollover budget methodology. So when I talked about the traditional budget, that's what we're going to use for the special funds, unless there's something significant that we know about. So there are no changes in the special funds in terms of the budget ask for FY26, in which it will, remain balanced. And so this is our HOT fund. But this is another example of when I talked about resources. This is a fund that we can use for tourism, and so there are things that we've been using out of our general fund that maybe can be sourced from the hotel occupancy tax. So we're starting to look at some of the other options that we have in terms of funding sources versus just going solely to the general fund. So I think that's a very exciting thing that we are now we're actually going to be more diversified in how we're sourcing our funding for the things that we need to support the city. Next slide. I think this is going to be enterprise fund. So in the enterprise fund, this is their proposed budget by category. Salaries, contractual services, material supplies, other charges, and capital. And so for FY26, their ask is $20.8 million. And that is compared to the year-end projections of $21.3 million. So they're pretty much on par with their spend for '25. Any questions on this? This actually does include 2 new positions in their budget. And if we go to the next slide, we've been working on a 5-year capital plan. So the team has been extremely busy in this short window. We've been working on, we did the kickoff for our budget in May, the beginning of May. And so from June, July, we've been hard and heavy on budgeting. And we've implemented a new process of a CIP, 5-year capital improvement project plan. And so we've initiated this 5-year plan, and what we've done is we've asked, all of the departments to provide the capital improvement that are needed over the next 5 years. And this is a planning tool for us. I don't know if you saw in the news where the city of Houston had an issue with their solid waste trucks, and they had to have a special meeting to buy new solid waste trucks in the tune of $12 million. And so it was because of the fact that we're so engrossed in the operational day-to-day activity that we don't pause to say, hey, how do we plan for the capital improvements that we're going to need down the road. So this is going to be a great tool for us. Traditionally, what we've done in the city of Texas City is that we plan within like the same year, and we say, hey, this is what we need, and so we plan for the next 12 months. And then we also plan in terms of funding our capital improvement projects as a pay-as-you-go. So typically it was pay-as-you-go, and so if we know that funds are getting tight, pay-as-you-go is going to be very challenging for us in a 12-year span. So this is why we're looking at it from a 5-year. And once we get really good with this, then we can look at it a 10-year. But right now it's a 5-year plan. And so we asked the departments to come up with their capital improvement projects and take the first stab at prioritizing them, to say that it is high priority, medium, or low. And we gave it a criteria, rubrics of, does this impact safety? Is it something that's going to help the community? Is it a step change for the community? Is it something that the community has been asking for? And we need data to support that. So it's based on, how many calls have we received? What's been the communication? What's the word on the street that this is, an issue here at the city of Texas City? And also we talked about the risk assessment. So if it is a high risk issue, and you may think, well, that's probably safety. But if it is a risk assessment, it's an old building, or it is something that could cause some danger or some type of hazard, that was a criteria as well. So we have, I think it's a total of 6 that we had a ranking of, and the cost benefit, so the financial impact. Is it a revenue generator, or is it too expensive right now? It's something that, it's real nice to have, but we just can't afford it. I'm going to pick on the fire team here, our fire department. I don't know, 15, 20 minutes ago, they were telling me about there's a new thing of having saunas in the fire station. I think it's a great idea. So I'm signing up, but fire stations or municipalities are implementing that. But that maybe if that was on the list, which is not on our CIP, but if it was on the list, we would look at it and say, okay, what's the financial impact? And maybe this is too costly for us. It's nice to have, and you're absolutely right. It could help save lives for our firefighters. But we may not be able to afford it after we do the cost-benefit analysis. But then the flip side of it is it a revenue generator? So on the CIP list, we have renovating the golf course. That may be a revenue generator. We can get more tournaments there. We can get more participants there. So we have a long list of these items. And so the preliminary numbers right now is $100 million in capital improvement projects over the next 5 years. Of course, this is a fluid list. It'll change. Things will roll off. Things may be added. But this is our preliminary. This is our first pass. And as nothing has been finalized, the next step in this process is, where are we going to get the money? How are we going to fund it? So there are some things that we are brainstorming, talking with other municipalities that are about our size and how they've actually kicked off their CIP. So we're looking for best practices in this space, but it is something that we're working through, and I'm real excited and pleased with my colleagues that we are taking on this task. And everyone has been very supportive, and at this point, I'll take any questions. I think that's the last slide.
Thank you, Ms. Rushing. Commissioners, do you have any questions about anything that's been discussed so far? Well, discussed period, because that's the last slide, but that's it. And, we've seen the presentation of the type of budgeting that we've been asked to employ this year, which is outcome-based budgeting versus the zero-based and incremental budgeting. And it, as she stated, it was something new to the city of Texas City, but something that we embraced, and something that probably after 2 or 3 years, we'll probably have, be a lot closer to mastering it. And so it's been a great learning experience for me, as it has been some of the other department heads and supervisors. But you've been presented with the historical trends as well as what we're facing this year, 81, I think you said 81 million revenue, 81 million expenses. We are presenting a balanced budget. And that comes with some tightening of the belt in a lot of areas, and but I think it's something that we can work with.
No questions?
Any questions? Any questions or anything?
A lot of information.
So
Any recommendations
what's the,
for the next workshop that we
tell
have?
us what's the path forward as far as this and the tax rate and how those two are connected and so on?
Yeah, so later today, we'll have the meeting where we will talk about the no new revenue rate and the proposed rate that we are presenting and recommending. In terms of the finalization of the budget, we're still working the numbers, but this is really the baseline of where we're at. It won't be much many changes in this, so you'll see a 81 million or so budget. We're going to be fine-tuning that. We'll have a public hearing of the budget. Real excited about the actual budget book. So in the budget book, we have departmental profiles, which consist of mission and vision of the departments, as well as their highlights for FY25, and then what to see in the future. So we have their key our KPIs, key performance indicators, and we have by year. So we started at FY23, so you can see some of their metrics from FY23, FY24, 25, and then what we're projecting for FY26. So some really cool things coming down the pike as it pertains to the budget. But once we approve the tax rate, which the tax rate, we did not, and we said we will not be increasing our tax rate after having the CO approved. And so we accomplished that, and that's why when the mayor says we're tightening our belt, that's what we're doing. We're not increasing the tax rate. Our current tax rate is 48,865. Our taxable value base did not increase. I was kind of surprised. It wasn't a step change, so we didn't benefit from any of the appreciation in property value. So it pretty much stayed flat. You'll see that in the presentation later today at 5 o'clock. So yeah, we are going to drive efficiencies. to be able to accomplish what we need to accomplish and keep the same service levels that we're providing today, that we'll be providing tomorrow with the hopes of improving those service levels. So that's pretty much it. We'll have the final of the budget will be September, I think it's 20th, it would be the third meeting in September. And that's when things will be finalized.
Instead of the second commission meeting in September?
Yes, our third week. I said third meeting, meant
Yeah.
to say third week
Third week?
in September. I think that's the 20th?
Yes.
Okay.
It is, no, I'm sorry, September would be the 17th.
Okay, September 17th, okay.
Yes.
Well, that's when it will be finalized.
Do we have any questions of any staff members in the audience, any department heads? Relative to this workshop, commissioners, any questions, comments?
Nicole, I was gonna ask you, you had on there, 10 new staff members, are they different? Just,
Yes, ma'am.
Curious.
Thank you. So what I did, this is goal-based budgeting, right? Parks and Rec.
I'm sorry. Nicole, I'm sorry, let's go ahead and come to the podium if you don't mind, yeah, just to get you on the record. Nobody online can hear without the microphone.
I'm actually very glad you asked that question. So again, this was goal-based budgeting, seeing where we're at and where I would like to be, right? So I actually have the list right here of what I'm suggesting. The first is at the golf course. I did a market analysis seeing what other golf courses, how they're run and things like that. In my opinion and what I've seen at other golf courses, Missouri City would be one municipal golf course to point out. They have a general manager, then they have a superintendent, and then a golf pro. The general manager is focused on driving sales, getting tournaments, that type of thing, and that's really what we're lacking at the golf course right now. We don't have those operations, so this would be something to boost those operations at our golf course. The next, I am suggesting parks operators. Our city is growing, we have corridors, so we need, eventually we're gonna need new park operators. For our Carlos Garza Park, currently our athletic staff are monitoring the practices out there. So I'm suggesting, hey, we should put this under parks and have an evening monitor of our parks. So that's something I suggested there. We need an additional full-time person in the reservations office. Miss Amanda handles those operations and we're getting busier. Next, I have an evening supervisor at the Lowry Center. Currently that position is part-time. I'm suggesting making it full-time. Last but not least is at the shooting range. So we need an additional person there. I actually went and worked out there to see firsthand what's going on, and it is a lot. You're checking people in, people are coming in with their guns. They don't have enough people for how busy it is out there. And then it's not really a new position, but for the Nestler Family Aquatic Center, for that caliber of facility, and with our climate, I feel that we can be open from April through the end of September. So expanding that season. Any questions?
very good, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nicole. Any others, questions, comments, commissioners? If not, what's your pleasure?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Ms. Rushing.
Thank you.
I will be back, 5 o'clock, obviously.